Today we have a very special guest that you might know. It's Zbranek, the IFSC head route setter who was responsible for route setting of several World Cups, World Championships and also for the Olympic Games in Tokyo. So we are happy to have him here with us, and since we collected some questions from you, from our followers, about route setting and other stuff, do you remember your first route setting?
Well, I grew up in the mountains. My family lives in the town of 10,000 people. And when I was 5, my dad brought me into the local climbing club. We had a small gym over there with no route setting. Maybe one per year during some special event. Then the team of the local fathers and volunteers resetted the walls. And then for the rest of the year we we climbed on these routes. And we didn't know that there was anything better back then.
What was your age when you really start setting?
Well, with the setting, when I was 12, my dad built a small boulder wall in our basement. And then I had a lot of friends from the local climbing club, so I thought I may organize a boulder competition. So I started
Being 12 years old, okay.
Yeah, so I started to work my way how to set the boulders for them. And they were all insanely hard because I was trying to show my best already back then. So from the route setting point of view, it was not super successful local competition, but it was my first one.
There is a question. Parkour is not the new thing anymore. What is going to be, according to you, a new trend in boulder setting?
I think the bouldering will be always depended a little bit more on what will happen with the Olympic movement. So whether in LA 2028 will be 3 disciplines and the chance for the athletes to fight for individual medal in bouldering. Or if it will be part of this combined discipline, I think it will not change much. It will be always more physically.
But if I am correct, the Olympic Games in LA should be the first time when all 3 disciplines can be separated.
Well, this is
the own medal.
This is a hope of many people, but it's not confirmed yet.
Okay.
So we are still thinking what to do, and I think it will largely depend on if somebody. Yeah, but this will be voted before Paris. But if someone will come with good idea how to manage the bouldering competition. So it's predictable, it's fair, it's good for the athletes to train because it's one comp, one round in 4 years, and then if it can be like anyone can win and nobody from the audience knows what is going on, this is not a good picture for bouldering right now. So if we find a good new way how to describe the values of bouldering, then the route setting will always follow with this kind of change of style, adaptation of the style. It's not like the route setters are making it up on the spot, but we have many meetings. We are trying to discuss the style with a lot of people around, from the coaches commission, athletes commission, IFSC staff members. So it's not like the parkour is the way. We don't know yet because we don't know.
Wide audience discussing, and it's really sound.
And we don't know what's coming. Okay. So first we have to find out where are we going, and then we have to find the way how to get there.
Do you think bouldering World Cups and especially Championship, Olympic qualifying events, route setting has become more formulaic? I appreciate the unlimited potential of movement in bouldering, and it seems we can now expect to see a slab traverse, slow, fast, slow, double or triple coordination, simple power, and a mixed boulder in many rounds.
Yeah, I think we can say that since the Olympic joined the climbing world, then the route setting follows this kind of new style and new way of how to approach this kind of questions that we have to answer. And to be honest, there are 2 types of route setting. There is one which we call route setting for combined competition. This means Olympic Games, World Championships in combined disciplines, where you have to always think that it's not only bouldering, but it's also lead climbing, and before it was a speed, so altogether it's a combine. And then you have to adapt and make the bouldering maybe a little bit more predictable, because
due to lead climbers and
not due to lead climbers, but more right now how it works with the point system. Altogether you can have 100 points per boulder, 100 points per lead, and then you are adding these points together to decide the overall ranking. And if the bouldering is super unpredictable, it can lead to strange looking results at the end, and you may not get the best climbers to win the trophy or win the Olympic Games or so on.
Because there would be kind of being lucky or being able to make the move once. So that formulaic, you think it's the right direction?
I think not to have something like in gymnastics, when you have a really described movement and you either perform the movement well or not. We don't have to have this catalog of movements in bouldering yet. And I don't think this is the way, because bouldering was always about finding the solution, looking at the data. But at the end of the day, we also have to formulate a little bit what do we expect, so the athletes know what to train for, and they know, like what is good, is it okay to have 4 jumps in the finals? Is it okay to have 4 slabs, or is the physical power also required? So we are trying to discuss to many people around. It's not only the route setter's decision, and we are trying to find what is the value of the bouldering in the combined discipline.
And make the optimal mix of all.
Exactly. So then you can have a nice balance of all styles. Due to the second type of the route setting for World Cup and lower level competition, to the gym comps, you can get a little bit more crazy.
How was the progression from commercial setting to IFSC, let's say higher level competition setting?
I started a long time ago. So back then, IFSC as organization started in 2007, and I started route set for them in 2007. So it's, since then there were many changes. Of course, I started as a competitor. Like I competed for the youth team, and then I moved to New Zealand, and then after to Australia, where it was a little more difficult for me to attend competition.
One of your podcasts.
So I started to set. I sat in the gym, and then this gym was the biggest gym in Australia, and commercial gym, but they were hosting big events like Oceania Championship, Youth World Championships. And they were also hosting the Continental Route Setting course in 2007, when the route setting legend Jackie Godoff came, and he taught me the basics of route setting, and he, I assume, really liked my style, because I liked bouldering back then, and it was something that the lead climbing competitions were also looking for, that I could mix this. So this speed up my process, and then in 2008 I joined again with Jackie Godoff the international route setting course, and from 2009 I was already actively setting on the World Cup. In 2010 I was already a chief route setter.
So it's 14 years now?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. How to become the route setter for IFSC?
Yeah, now I describe the way or how I made it. And since then, of course, IFSC grew, and of course our profession grew. Like when I started, it was not too many people who were attracted in route setting, and even I was always telling myself that this is not a real job. For many years, maybe until I was appointed as the chief route setter in Paris, then I was still telling myself, I just do it for now, it's just fun, but then I find a real job.
Okay.
But since then, the climbing and commercial climbing and competition climbing grew up rapidly, and there are so many new people who are attracted to route setting. So now we are trying to be a little bit more structured. So for many years we are trying to level up the the route setting licenses. Before it was one license cover all. Now we are trying to get the continental licenses. We are trying to educate the chief route setters. We are trying to teach them to become international route setters and international chief route setters. So these 4 levels of international climbing is possible to join. But first, I think it's and the most important step is to work closely with each national federation of your home country to set for the team, to set a lot of competition, so they can nominate you to IFSC structure, because as we say, IFSC is federation of federations, so we cannot pick up the people from the street and say, wow, you look like you could be a good route setter, but we wait for the appointment from your national federation. So this is the way how
Which
to
was
do it.
mentioned, there are 3 IFSC official head route setters,
Yeah.
and then the others who can be joined, 3, 4, 5
Exactly.
people from national.
You are getting your experience through setting the World Cups as the national official on this kind of events. And then once a year, now we are trying to open a call for free position to join the different level of this route setting program. And you can be nominated for level 1 to become a continental route setter from your national federation, to set a smaller competitions around your continent, and then you can grow up slowly to become the IFSC Chief Route Setter or Head Route Setter, how we call it now.
What do you think about seeing many of the same faces setting several World Cups throughout the season? Do you think there could be more variety with more different setters at the events?
Complicated question. I would say it's always about finding the right balance. The more you set, the more you know the competitors as a route setter, the better you get, the more experience you get, you know, the more comfortable you are in making crucial decisions. So in terms of a pool of chief route setters and the IFSC route setters who work on a multiple event per year, I think it's a must.
And how many are they, roughly? 8, 12?
How many route setters?
The head route setters.
Yeah, right now there is a big reconstruction of this new system. So it's still not finished. So for the season 2024, I don't know. In the past, it was around 20-25 route setters who could take the role of the head route setter. But because this changed as well, that we are changing these positions for 2024 season.
There should be less of them, or?
There should be less head route setters, but the other route setters will call now level 3. So the level 4 will be for head route setters, level 3 will be for IFSC setters. That would mean the other setters nominated by IFSC for the World Cup competition. So I think this is a pool of route setters that should set at least 1, 2, or 3 competitions per year to maintain the knowledge of the level of the athletes. And it's not like we set many more than 2 comps per year. It's not a lot, you know. And on the other hand, there are always new route setters joining the team, because IFSC for every World Cup appoints 3 route setters, but there are additional 3, 4, or 5 setters appointed by national federation.
Okay, yes.
So
yes.
there can be 8 route setters to set the bouldering World Cup, which 5 of them can be new, and it can be a first time for them to set a comp. So they also need some guidance from the more experienced team members. So I think it's always about finding the right numbers and right balance, but I would not say that it's always the same people who set same things.
Okay. How do you see yourself, the evolution of route setting during IFSC events, but from climbing holds and macros point of view? Is there any trend, according to your opinion? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think about it a lot, because my contract with IFSC is based on hold macro volume selection and guidelines for the setters, but I spent a lot of time discussing with many brands about the selection for Paris, and we are trying to also evolve with this catalog to have a catalog of the holds that are approved to be used for IFSC competition. So it will not be only the brands as approval, but also the shape. So we are trying to work in this direction.
So creams, large dual texture stuff, or?
Yeah, like the specific set needs to get the stamp, yes, this is approved for the season by IFSC, so it can be used.
So not brand, but the set of different brands.
Set of different holes from the brand. So it means if your brand has 5,000 shapes and 4,000 are more designed for commercial climbing and for the kids, and so of course, you know, our aim is to use the 1,000 of shapes that are good for competition. So we want to just encourage you, just to tell you, look, this is the shapes that we are actually interested to have on the World Cups.
Interesting.
We don't really want to have too many jugs and too many holes that we don't use.
So you will be even, let's say, ready to advise the climbing holes macros producer what shapes you would be interested in future or in coming 12 months?
Yeah, like the communication about the sets of the holes and trying to find the consensus, what is useful and what makes a good competition selection is something that we are really working on right now. And the communication between IFSC and the brands is getting stronger every year. And I think we are learning how to do it, and it's a big part of my job right now, trying to learn as much about the holes as I can.
What do you think of no texture climbing holes?
Yeah, I think
we don't have to mention who started it or who tried it, but what do you think about it? It's interesting.
No, it has been tried many times even in the past. It's not like a new thing. It's just the thing that tries to surprise the athletes and try to see how fast they can adapt and they can react to the new thing. Sometimes from these things can become a new trend, and many brands start to make it, and it will change the sport. But for me personally, with this, I think it's just a fun thing to have. It's like a spinning volume.
And is it fun also for a route setter, or it's more like a bit nightmare for you, or you really like this kind of
It becomes
big
a
change?
nightmare for route setters when you don't have a time to practice before the event, and then somebody tells you, hey, you have to set the World Cup final using these holes, because you don't know what to expect when the audience enter the gym and the humidity raises and when the lights shines
Everything
on.
changes.
You don't know what would happen after 20 or 100 competitors, if the texture will change. You don't know if some athletes had the time to train on these holes before this event, so they could have huge advantage, because with this no texture hold, it can be big game changer. So for us, it can be exciting, but on the other hand, if it's too many of these things, it could be potential risk of fairness of the competition, which we try to not support.
Do you think it's possible to separate the field with purely physical boulders, field of competitors, I guess? Most boulders now seem to include some form or trick or low percentage move to separate climbers.
You know, it always depends on the format of the competition. Like if you find the format for the bouldering and the solution that can give you...
What did you say, form?
Format of the competition.
Format, okay.
Yeah. So if you find a way how to score the athletes based on performance on the boulders without putting a lot of pressure on attempts and without pushing them with the time limit, then maybe it can be possible to welcome a little bit more of the physical and powerful boulders. But at the moment, when you have to find the balance between the muscle memory training of the athletes and the time, the show, when the athlete can do even 10 tries within the 4 or 5 minutes time limit, then it's definitely a tricky question. Like if you would give them, you know, only physical boulders, we all know that it's
almost impossible to make the number 4.
Well, you have to recover in between. So you can do only 1 or 2 very solid attempts during your try, and then the audience would be just looking at the climbers standing on the mat, shaking, choking, and waiting. So for me, it's about searching for new format for the bouldering competition, and not only about trying to tell the route setters what kind of style to set, because we are always trying to find a style that helps us to make a ranking and ask the correct questions. And if the value of the bouldering will incline more into this physical section, this is what we can see on the combined events like Olympic Games, then definitely this will attract the route setters who are very good in this style. And then I am comfortable to say, yes, it is possible to separate them, but we also have to think of new format of bouldering in terms of rules, ranking system, and if the zone is the goal or what we do.
Okay, interesting, because the new format study is really something probably very challenging.
Yeah.
And the last question, which is, let's say, nice for the end, what was or is the most satisfying moment in your career as a route setter? Simply said, your best memory.
It's always a tricky one. Like, the route setter always puts a lot of investment, like a mental preparation for the competition, but also the work on the spot. And it would not surprise anyone when I say, like, the bigger the comp is, the more you invest, and if the outcome is good, then you feel super satisfied. So if I can point not one but maybe two events, then I was the chief route setter for Paris World Championships 2016, and together with Laurent Laporte we set the men final, and the last climber out was Adam Ondra. He topped the route as the only climber. He won the World Championship.
The reaction of the audience was amazing.
This route, it was first time for me as a chief route setter for the World Championships. So we put a lot of risk into this route because Laurent is a bouldering setter and he pushed me in many ways. Yeah, he proposed new sets of the super cool holds for the event, and then we did a lot of jumps and tricky movements, and at the end of the day, it was pre-setting. It was 2 months before the event, so for 2 months I could not sleep because I was so scared that this route will be terrible. And it ended up well, so I was super satisfied.
The first one and the second.
And the second one was the Olympic Games. So, I was lucky enough to set again the men route on the lead. And Jakob Schubert, this time last man coming out of the isolation zone, topping out the route. This was super nice,
Amazing
the first
moment.
Olympic Games and this outcome. So for me, it could end up anyhow, but because it was super big event and we invested so much of our time and lives into it, that this was big satisfaction.
So, okay, that's it. There are no more questions, and thank you very much for your time for this interview.
Thank you.
And I hope you all enjoyed the video, and you can show us your support by subscribing our channel and by liking this video. Thank you and see you next time.